This is the Amazon 1 month overview reading for the month of April 2024. It's currently March 5th, 2023, 12:54 p.m. Eastern Time. Amazon at the time of this reading is $174.20 USD. The shuffle video that we're about to play for you in the lower left corner was created on February 2nd, 2024 at 8:41 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video right here. The overall theme and behavior for Amazon in April, we have the moon card indicates bearish price swings and or a sharp decline. So it's probably a bit of both. It's crossed with an overbought peak that we sell off from through multiple support levels. Behavior around the highest high for the month, we should decline off of the high down to and through support to meet another support and then rotate sideways after meeting that second support. That will be out of the high. And then behavior around the lowest low for the month, we have a resistance level or a resistance level that we poke through 3 times, followed by a sharp drop off of the third poke, and a sharp drop takes us into the low. I'm going to get into the day-by-day chart behavior, as well as timing the highest highs and the lowest lows, and all that stuff in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to make sure everybody's aware. The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. We do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. You go to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, and 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated forward to one of these charities, or pick a charity of your choosing, as long as you're paying 5% forward, and then 5% should be sent back to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use Wise or you can use YouTube tips, and that leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, you follow the rule of karma for the channel, the universe considers you an angel investor. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through. Blessings to all my angel investors. Let's get back into it. Here on the first, we have sideways rotation along a key support level on a multi-day scale. We should rise off of that key support, meet the nearest like critical resistance, and then fall back down and continue rotating sideways. It's kind of like a little hump kind of that happens on a chart. There is a peak, however, at the end of the day, so it looks like we probably have some right on the cusp of the first second. There should be like a decline into the cusp of the first second, and then out of that we have like this big move from the bottom of a range all the way to the top of a range in the early part of the day on the second, reaching for a distant resistance. So peak there around the second. We might even see the peak twice, like on the cusp of the first second and then again on the second. There's a trough at the end of the day or on the cusp of the second third, which is very likely a lowest low thus far. And then on the third we rally, increasing with momentum moving forward in time. I'm advised to trade on the third and on the first, and I'll talk about those trades and what to look for on a one-day chart as far as entry and exit into those trades when we get into the paid version. There is some sort of like turnaround, so we rally, increase with momentum moving forward in time, and then at some point there's a sharp decline. It either starts on the third or it's on the fourth. Sharp decline takes us into another lowest low thus far. 2 local bottoms on a one-day chart there for the fourth. So if you're looking at the fourth on a one-day chart, you should see 2 troughs. On the fifth, we have a notable move to the upside and a trade opportunity. Now, what's important about this notable move is that the decline on the fourth, there may even be some decline on the fifth, or somewhere on the fourth. It starts either on the fourth or the fifth out of the decline. There's a big move higher in the face of seemingly overwhelming headwinds. We still move higher. Trade opportunity in that high, which I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. And it looks like we might even have a day trade opportunity, either an exit for a swing trade and then an entry into a swing trade, or a day trade. I'll look at it in more detail in the paid version. But there on the 8th, there's a notable decline and a unicursal hexagram type of energy. Usually we see a sharp drop with the unicursal hexagram. We have a lowest low thus far as well. So this would either be like the same low as the fourth, or it's going to be a lower one. And then on the 9th, we bump along resistance sideways, maybe break through resistance, bump along resistance some more. We decline to meet a key support level towards the end of the day on the 10th, and it's important probably on a 1-year chart scale. It's a revisiting of a support level that we recently met, so it's probably the same low as the 8th. Whether or not the 8th is lower than the 4th, the 10th is probably the same price level as the low of the 10th is probably the same price level as the 8th. And then there's a trade opportunity at the end of the day on the 10th. What's interesting about this decline, it's probably more so bearish price swings is my sense, right? Because it looks like there's a bit of a rally after this low here on the 10th. But this is an important low. This might be the lowest low right here. And then on the 12th, we have a big move higher standing out on a one-day chart, or excuse me, on a multi-day chart. On the 15th, a period of volatility that ends with a fast sudden move higher, taking us into an important peak. Somebody should be speaking towards the end of the day on the 15th around that peak, and it'll impact Amazon somehow. What they're talking about can be relied upon and trusted. I'm advised to be cautious on the 16th. There's a cross-reading correlation there with early April card, meaning that on the April reading we have a strong relationship between the early April card of the April cluster and the card here. So there's probably some sort of important range that's met, like the upper end of, I think probably the upper end of a range is met here towards the end of the day, and then there's a sharp drop towards the end of the day on the 16th, and then there's a sharp drop from that peak, which will probably be a highest high thus far from that peak. Probably, it might not be, but probably, and there's a sharp drop off of that peak. The full card on the 17th indicates a significant opportunity. When we look back at April, it'll really stand out. Sometimes the full card is a gap of some kind, like a gap up or a gap down. Sometimes it's the top, the bottom. Sometimes it's just like a really big move that's unexpected. It's a lot of different things can happen with the full card, but what I notice here is that it comes right after a cross-reading correlation with a peak, a highest high thus far, and then we have this sharp unicursal hexagram decline type of energy here on the 18th. Also the devil card, so sort of like a fake out or shakeout of some kind. I think we probably go higher, like there's a drop early, like on the cusp of the 16th, 17th. And then there might even be, it's hard to say which way this full card is going, but we'll know when the 17th comes and you look at the chart, you'll easily be able to determine what you should do in that situation based on what's transpiring next. Before we go any further though, let's take a look and see how we did for February. The February reading was created on December 5th, 2023 at 3:19 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this reading right here. And I have a lowest low here on the first, and you can see right here on the first we have a lowest low. There's like a rally that ends, and then a full card kind of energy. This is the type of move, like if you were bullish here, this would have been a huge move for you, a great trade. That's the kind of full card energy that I was talking about. And then we do sideways rotation there. Another notable move higher on the 6th. Looks like the notable move higher really took place on the 7th, and then off of and continued into the 8th, and then there was a notable decline there that drop on the first card. Followed by caution. Prudence, caution is advised there on the 8th, and we're kind of like going sideways. Then there's another big move to the upside at the almost at the end of the day, or on the cusp of the 8th, 9th, and it ends up taking place on the 9th, followed by some price swinging. Like we hit that resistance level again on the 12th and decline off of that. There's another significant low or lowest low here on the 12th. If you cut out this low and just look at the remainder of the chart, which sometimes you need to do that, but you'll see that here on the 12th. Well, we have a 12th, 13th. And then we have the 14th, 15th kind of. So here on the 13th, the decline started on the 12th, went into the 13th, and then off of that low, there was a big move pushing the upper end of a range higher into the 14th, where we see a highest high thus far there. And then a significant high, so a little bit off there. Wasn't a highest high thus far, but it did end up being an important high. And it's followed by volatility. We have more highs. Was this the 21st? On the 20th, we had a cross-reading correlation with the low card. It correlates to the sorrow card. So there was a correlation there indicating that we might have a low there, right, as indicated. And you can see here on the 19th, 20th, 21st, we did have a trough that took place. We should see the 21st. And then we went into highs again shortly thereafter, like the 22nd, 24th. I have highest highs on the 21st, 22nd. So I was off by a day, but I nailed the 22nd one. And then another highest high there on the 23rd. So we did pretty well there, guys. This is a pretty solid reading aside from being off on this one high here. We went into our highest high for the month at the end of the month. And I have it for the 28th and ends up being the 29th. Had a prominent trough before that high as well. And you can see there's a prominent trough there before that high. The Ace of Swords indicates being able to trade off of a resistance level to the downside and then back to the upside, using that as an entry and an exit. And that would have panned out quite well. This was a really solid chart, guys. So what I advised here was around this low to open up a long position and close the long position at this peak here. That would have done pretty solid. Another big trade was, these are things that only the paid version saw. On the 12th, yeah, so advising a short to open up a short when we poke through key resistance and then break back down through it with the full retracement. The main trade would have been to open up a long position on the 12th and then again on the 14th. 12th still would have worked out. It wasn't the best spot. Really, it was kind of blurred with the 13th here, right? Probably what you would have done is added to the long there, and then on the 14th again we wanted to add a little bit to that long position with the anticipation of closing out of that long position on the 22nd. So that would have been a pretty profitable trade. It would have started out a little ugly, but it still would have worked out. And you would have been advised, if you had strong risk tolerance, to wait for like the 23rd, which would have given you more profit. And then there's that trade with the Ace of Swords that also, like, you would have been able to trade off of it to the downside and then turn around, close out of that, open up a long, and use that resistance level as an exit for the long position as well. So that would have worked out pretty well. The majority of these trades were pretty solid, guys. If you're interested, getting the paid version ahead of time so you can actually benefit from these trade advisement, the way to do that is you go to our website, Tarot for Traders, our services, SO Meta Posts, and that'll take you to this page. Scroll down to monthly subscription, click here to order. Currently a special, but this is probably only going to be up for another day, so by the time you see this video, the special will be gone. It's $4.99 a month, or you can do an individual, like if you just wanted to take a look at Amazon and none of these other tickers. To only get a subscription for only Amazon, you would want to click on the one that will say Amazon, and that'd be $2.49. It's obviously much more valuable to get the paid version of all of them for twice the price, and it's super valuable information. It's the only place in the world that you get this information. The majority of it, 98% average accuracy. We're not right all the time, so don't trade like a lunatic. Trade responsibly, and with this information, you should do pretty darn well. Thank you to everybody that goes ahead and does that. It really helps to support the channel. It's like the core, people with these monthly subscriptions are like the core financial support for the channel. Love you guys. Let's get back into it. Okay, so we were talking about a full card kind of move here on the 17th. So this is a pretty notable move to the downside. And then we have some sort of fake out on the 18th where we might look like we're going lower, but instead we go higher on the 19th. We rally into key resistance on a multi-day scale. And then we break down from that with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down. Decline continues. Looks like we probably open higher on the 22nd, and then there's a sharp drop. There's a sharp drop early in the morning, but it's like a part of a U-shaped dip. So we should come back to a peak by the cusp of the 22nd, 23rd. We have an important high on the 23rd. This is probably a new high thus far, or this could be the high here with the abundance card here on the 23rd. I think it's probably a new high thus far, but we'll break through key resistance. We'll stay above it briefly. We'll break back down through the same price level, creating the high. And then on the 24th, we rally along a diagonal trend line. We break through horizontal resistance, meet a second resistance, and then pull back to somewhere between those two price levels. Might be another high there. On the 25th, we have the completion of a rally. So usually what you see is like a hump kind of shape on a chart. You start out bullish and you finish bearish. There's a trough at the end of the day, so it looks like a pretty sharp drop at the end of the day there on the 25th. And then on the 26th, we have a notable move to the upside. 29th, we have a sideways S formation within a channel. So we decline from resistance down to support, back to resistance, back to support. It's like a sideways S formation within a channel, usually to the downside, but we do have a peak early in the day on the 30th, and it looks like that peak forms from the end of a decline. It ends with a fast sudden move higher, taking us into a peak. So the 30th is probably a bullish day overall. It's also a cross-reading congruency for late May, so this is an important move here. But my sense is that we probably have a highest high for the month somewhere here around the 23rd, 24th, 25th. And as far as lowest lows, I think we drop lower and lower until we get to like probably the 8th or the 11th. So this is probably a sharp drop here on the 8th. or maybe the 11th is probably the lowest low there. Hard to say, but it's one of those locations, and then we should go bullish into the end of the month where we see that overbought crest. Another reason why I think the high's over here. There's a few reasons. We've got these Ace of Discs, Princess of Discs correlations with these 4 days, really, right? And both of those cards are cross-reading congruencies and relate to a high, a significant high. The Ace of Discs is the high card of March and the early part of May, so it's possible that we're seeing a similar high. I'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. And then the sneak preview for the following month, we have a rally that's halted by a sharp decline through key support. Sometimes the rally continues after it's halted. Hard to say. We'll have to look at the May 1 month reading to be able to determine that in more detail. But with that said, guys, that's the Amazon 1 month overview reading for April. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Really helps out the channel. And most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma, my friends. We're counting on you here at Tarot for Traders and the Investor Profit. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one.